Okay, welcome to Fahrenheit Performance, episode number 76. Today we have Yi Heng from Tribal.
Thanks for having me here, Martin.
No problem. How are you, Yi Heng? Welcome to the podcast.
I'm good.
So just tell us who you are and what do you do?
Okay, hi guys. I'm Yi Heng. I'm a avid endurance athlete, triathlete, runner, and also the co-founder of Tribal Triathlon Singapore.
Okay. So this is like the third week in a row I'm having a triathlon club, right? It's like catching Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
I had Raphael from Multisport. Last week I had Arthur from Elevate and now you from Tribal. Fundamentally, all three are roughly the same, focusing on age group athletes, focusing on sport training and training plans, right? Just tell us a little bit about Tribal and how long it's been around and sort of where it came from.
Yeah, actually, Raphael and Arthur, I mean, the tri scene in Singapore is really small. We see each other on a regular basis.
Yes.
So I guess Tribal is similar to Metasport and Elevate. We are also a community and coaching platform. I'll probably dive into how we actually started. So back then in 2019, I think just before COVID-19 hit, we started off as Iron Project Singapore.
Okay.
So it was actually a non-profit organization. We were a group of 20 athletes, consisting mostly of athletes from NTU, Singapore.
Okay.
We had a choice race, so we went for Ironman Langkawi. And we actually raised funds for this organization called Cycling Without Age.
Full distance.
Yes, a full distance Ironman.
God.
So it was a really
fun.
fun. It was a really fun project. I think the aim was to actually bring at least like 10 of them who never did sports before. So we had guys who couldn't swim a lap in the swimming pool.
Okay.
And then we just wanted to get them to the finish line of an Ironman in 1 year.
Yep.
So my position in Iron Project Singapore was sort of like a mentor and guide, and also the team lead for the team as well.
So you've been doing triathlon for some time?
Yes, so I've been doing tri for, as of this year, about 13 years.
Okay.
So, 13 years, close to 13 years. I started sometime in Polytechnic, just before national service. So I used to dabble in all sports, basketball, soccer.
Yep.
I used to shoot air rifle for the school competitively.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then played water polo for a good couple of years.
Okay.
With the varsity team and the poly team. And then, I love the sprint distance events, 50 fly, 50 free, the IM events. And then I swapped over to competitive lifesaving for a short while. Like self-rescue.
I'm very aware of that because in growing up in Australia, it's a big thing, right? You got a flag in the sand, and then people run out, got the flag, and then you swim.
So the scene is small in Singapore, but actually that's where I met my wife, and then I met a very close friend through lifesaving, who happened to do Ironman really regularly. The funny thing is he introduced me to the sport, and then he quit. So we always have a job when we meet each other. So he was an avid triathlete back then, convinced me to get my first road bike, and then it just snowballed from there, and then I've been doing the sport like for close to 13 years.
Because you've been to world champs, you've accomplished a lot in the sport, right? So how did you start out in triathlon? Was it when you were in poly, you just entered Meta Sprint Series or something like that?
I started actually right before national service, actually. So because I used to be a water-based creature, so I hated running actually, and then I didn't want to go into NS early, so I started doing 2.4, and then I sort of fell in love with running, and then I actually got my bike at the same time, and then I think the first event I ever did was Tri-Fem, the one at East Coast Park, which was organized by I think Wilson and a few other guys.
Okay.
And so it was I think a fast free, just pop in community style kind of try. The roads were not closed. And that was my first try, and then subsequently I got hooked, signed up for all the Meta Sprint events, and then then they just went down to the Ironman event subsequently.
And then now predominantly you do the 70.3 distance.
Yeah, I personally like the 70.3 distance. I did spend quite a bit of time in Olympic distance as well, because back then SEA Games was Olympic distance. So we were in this sort of tri-development squad actually. I think it's the same coach that I remember I mentioned. I heard Cedric and a few of them mention as well. So Coach Andy and Coach Wilson, they were the guys in the scene back then. So all of us were actually training under them.
Okay.
I mean, Cedric and the rest were probably from a later batch. But for us, we all went through their path. So back then it was all like standard distance or half Ironman.
Isn't it funny how small the triathlon scene is that it's the same 20 people that you see. You went to university with, you've raced against, you're still racing against, they're still here, and they've all become prominent people in the triathlon scene as well, right?
So good fun racing back then, and then then I sort of progressed to half Ironmans after university.
Okay. So Tribal itself became a thing after the Iron project?
Yeah, so after Iron Project Singapore, because I actually mentored a few of them.
Yeah.
So it was pro bono, non-profit. We guided this guy who actually couldn't swim one lap to a 12-hour Ironman in Langkawi.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then it was actually from there that he gave me the idea, Yi Heng, why not you try taking on some guys for
Because you get to the end of the Iron project, like one next.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so it's sort of I think that was the birth of Tribal in general. We actually came out with the name with Tribal is just Triathlon Beyond All Limits. Yeah, so that's the BAL.
I had no idea.
Yeah, no one actually knows about it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the origin story, and then we actually sort of moved down the road because there were people who actually asked us about youth programs. Yeah, so they didn't know how to start the sport. Yeah.
Okay.
And back then, I think during my time as well, we were lucky to have a lot of mentors.
Yeah.
So guys from Newbie Triathlon, from some of the other clubs like Terrene, who used to organize trips up to Port Dickson, Desaru. So that was my kind of roadmap as an athlete growing up. And
So when you say youth athletes, are you talking from 16 to 21 or 13 to 18 or?
actually youth, so like anywhere from under 15s to 16 to 19 as well. Yeah.
Okay. And do you still specialize in that, or are you open for everybody? What's the deal now?
Right now for Tribal, I think we're known as a youth development platform, but actually the community, our oldest guys guys like Albert. So we have athletes all the way up until like 50, 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's a good place for the young triathletes to get their feet in the first race and to understand what training is and structure and sort of coaching and that sort of stuff, right?
I think we want to create like a nice community where they can hop into the sport regardless of their background, and then really find their footing in the sport, swimming, cycling, running, and then progress to the ED level, or competitive level if there's something they're really keen in.
So the first time I heard your name was from Yi Heng. Yi Heng, I think episode 55, right? So that's like 20 episodes ago, right? Beginning of this year. He mentioned you and how you helped him a lot when he must have been a youth when he was coming. So is that the typical thing what happens? Like currently he's not with you because he's very elite, right? But you help the youths get from somewhere, from nothing to somewhere, right? Is that sort of how you see your role in developing the youths?
Yeah, Yi Heng is a really unique case. So, I think Yi Heng is probably going to tune into this.
Yes.
But,
he tells me he listens to every episode when he trains on Mondays.
He's a big fan of the Fahrenheit podcast. Yeah. So, Yi Heng was an interesting case. He actually came back to Singapore. He just finished national service. I actually bumped into him by chance and SIT. And then, Meta Sprint Triathlon. And we noticed that actually this guy was really, he had a lot of potential. He was really fast. Had a brief chat with his parents, actually. They approached us, found out about how to, how they could start training.
Yeah.
So I actually linked it up with the association, TAS. And then Eugene got him into the start list for the elite wave. And then I think he
came second, right?
Yeah, he came second on his first ever race on an aluminium bike. And so he actually did some training with the club. But right now we're sort of like, and he's under coach too in Perth.
Yeah, from Eclipse, right?
Yes, with Eclipse Performance. So I mean he's a unique case. He started the sport. I mean he had experience in swimming, cycling, and running as well. The guys that we sort of work with, a lot of them are fresh. So either swimmers like myself, just coming in. From
Singapore seems to have a lot of triathletes that used to be swimmers, right?
Because it's important for draft legal. Yeah,
true.
So on one aspect, we have guys from sports school who come in through swimming. So your athletes like Cheng Yu, Wan Ting, Reyes, who are coming in from a swimming background, and then we have guys who come from track background as well.
Okay.
So these guys are currently guys in the track in the development squad as well in TA. So like Shankai and who else? Russell, Rachel. So they are not swimmers. They come in from a running background.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean my whole point and purpose of Tribal is really just to guide these guys along and probably take them to their best potential, like before they decide to chase their career or something else. Yeah.
So when you first started, I guess 2020 roughly, right? And you had what 10 people or whatever it was left over from the Iron project. Now you're in the hundreds, right? What was the early struggles of getting from a small group? Because at the beginning, you got your friends and your immediate circle, but then there's a point in time where you run out of friends to come in, right? And then you go talk to strangers, right? How did you go about doing that? Was it all word of mouth, or did you actively try to find people and recruit, or what was the deal?
I think we always tell people like we are a passion project. Like I mean, me and my founders, we all have our full-time job. But it's really driven by passion. So for us, I think it's really just about getting the guys down for the sessions, the weekly sessions, building a routine.
Yep.
And then like I mean, for Tribal, I think we're known for our brick sessions on Sunday, our open water sessions on Saturday.
Okay.
And then like the track sessions on Thursday that we run with our sister club Elevate.
Yep.
So yeah, really building this kind of routine in the week and getting people down, because I mean in the current sports landscape in Singapore, there are so many like free run clubs.
Yeah, run clubs.
Different brands are also. I mean, I used to be with On as well, so we used to do like free run clubs. So there technically isn't something that really ties you down to a club. Yeah, but I think what I found for myself and how I actually run Tribal is very similar to my time in the UK. So I did a year in the UK, and I really like the way that they run the tri clubs there, because you pay a small nominal fee every month, and basically you are involved in the community. So you do training camps together. You get special access for training venues. Yeah, and then I mean it's guided sessions as well.
Okay.
So I think that's how we run Tribal. So you build like sort of like a nice community where people actually feel that they are part of the club. Yeah, rather than topping out.
And mostly squad sessions, I guess.
Yes, mostly squad sessions.
So there's three you mentioned: the brick, open water, and the track on Thursdays.
Yeah, people always ask us like what services we offer. But I always say we are actually both a community and as well as a coaching platform.
Okay. Okay. And you yourself do a lot of 70.3s, right? I saw that you did recently the Taupo last year. You did World Championships a few times. How's your journey been progressing? How are you still racing now? Are you signed up? Are you still training a lot?
I think I'm I just generally like the sport. So I'm not racing at probably the level or training as much as I used to.
Okay.
But I definitely still enjoy going for endurance events. So I think the Taupo slot was actually a rollover from COVID.
Oh, yeah, okay. Then, which is the original Tribal slot, right?
Yes. Because we used to go to Bintan, the old Bintan 70.3 to hunt for World Champ slots. Because it's a very tough race because of the weather. So
I think Subic is now that race.
Yes, Subic is now that race.
Yeah, because it's a tough race. It's hard to get to. The quality of the field isn't as high, right? Okay, and then so if you're not training as much, how much do you train these days?
I think right now, whenever I can squeeze a session, which I actually find I enjoy more. So whenever I have free time from work, or I will just squeeze in a run, bike, and I think that actually makes me enjoy the sport like a lot more.
So you're definitely less than 10 hours. 10 hours
definitely
a week.
less than 10 these days.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what would be if you were still a student or if you were unemployed right now, and you were training for something? How many hours do you think you need to train to put in a very high quality performance?
I think it really depends on the kind of event you're training for. So, like, let's say for this year, actually, I do have events every year. Like this year, I'm going for Hokkaido Marathon with my wife.
Oh, nice.
In August.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll probably try to squeeze in at least 7-8 hours. Try to squeeze in maybe a sub 3. For the marathon. But I think back when I was training for Ironman, I think training hours definitely reached close to like 18 to 22, 23 hours.
It has to be, right?
Yeah.
There's a certain threshold that you need to be at to be knocking at the door.
Yes.
Right. If you don't do those minimum hours, you're not going to be invited to the big boys club, right?
Yeah, and I think it's something that I always tell the junior team as well. Like a lot of them, they need to understand the concept that if you don't put in the hours or you don't put in the commitment to the session, you're never gonna get the rewards, because most people think there's a magic formula out there from coaches,
and talent will only get you a certain amount, right? If you've got the talent, you might muscle through the sprint distances, for example, right? But Olympic, half Ironman, full Ironman, talent means nothing. It's all about training and endurance and nutrition, right? Definitely. Okay, and then so now that you've been doing this for 13 years or so, what do you tell the younger kids now, or what are the biggest lessons learned that you used to do that you don't think are necessary anymore, or that you feel like is important for everybody to know about the sport?
I think, for younger kids starting off, right, I think because of this whole, the Norwegian method, all your...
not working so well anymore.
I know, your T100, your Ironman coverage. Actually, Ironman seems to, like the longer distance event seems to be sexier in the sense. A lot of them are, you see kids coming in like Sec 3, Sec 4, they're like, oh, I want to do Ironman.
Yeah.
Yeah. But usually the advice that we give is, I mean, at that age, you should be actually focusing on the shorter stuff.
Yeah.
Going through the super sprint, screen events.
It's very uncommon someone under 25 does even the 70.3, right? Which is why you see the 19-year-olds doing 70.3s and they get good results, but the field is so small. Like you go to the 30 to 35 or 35 to 39, and there's so many strong athletes in in those fields.
Yeah, and I think you should know as well, like if you look at the general landscape of long distance, like the short course guys are all coming up through the ranks, and when they hit the long distance events, they're just like so dominant in the events.
Yeah.
Compared to the guys inside.
Yeah. Okay, so then tell me, you had a pretty crazy accident back in 2017.
Oh yes,
right? Tell me, my first episode of this podcast was when I woke up in a medical tent for the Stanchart Half Marathon, right? I did a whole episode about it. But yours seems to be a lot worse than that, and you seem to be fine right now, right? So tell us what was that about? What happened?
Oh, so I think it was a training ride. I used to ride with this group called Team West Coast.
Okay.
And by Kaki. So we used to, actually that was the first group that I started riding with. I think they are still around now.
West Coast riders?
Yeah, but it's smaller. You know, most of the uncles have retired.
Yeah.
So we were on a training session along Tuas. So the usual Gulf Circle.
West, yeah.
Yes, and then
hockey stick loop, right?
Sometimes I can't even remember what happened, but based off my memories, basically it was when we were cruising along at around 40-45 in a pace line. A lorry went by us, dropped some components. Those, you know, like carrying a metal parts, and then basically I was the second rider in the peloton, and the first guy went down. His wheel basically wiped my front wheel up, so I just went like.
And that lorry just
it just ran off. I don't know if they found the guy. Yeah. Because it's not really a hit and run, you know. He dropped stuff on the road. Yeah.
Could be reckless.
Yeah. So I think it's just the angle of fall. I broke the fall with my arm on the curb.
So you went over the bars and hit your shoulder.
Yeah, so I couldn't break the fall, and then the impact basically dislocated my elbow, wrist, and then I had some breaker rupture fracture, and then the collarbone, clavicle fracture.
So you broke your collarbone, dislocated your elbow, and ruptured an artery.
Yeah, ruptured an artery. Yeah.
So what does that mean when you rupture an artery? Obviously, the artery is cut, right?
Yeah.
But does that mean that blood is just flowing into your arm?
So it was an internal fracture.
Yeah.
So there was no open wound.
Yeah.
But basically, you could see like the bones just like pop out like two, dim sum on the hands, and then basically what they had to do is do a graft to actually sort of get it back. So I have like a very like stitch. Yeah.
But the artery all that time is just bleeding into your arm, right? So was your arm just filling with blood?
Yeah, so it's pretty scary because all I remember was when I woke up from the operation, what they did was they inserted a metal rod, right, for the collarbone. That's an easy fix for cyclists. But for the artery graft, they basically had to redo the graft, right? And then
they have to take an artery from your leg?
Yeah. To graft it from somewhere else and then put it on. And then when I woke up, I actually couldn't feel any sensation in the arm. So it was quite scary. I thought I lost my left hand.
Because you could have lost your arm, right?
Yeah, so I could have lost my arm. Yeah.
You could have lost your arm just because of the artery rupture or because of the broken...
It's more from the artery rupture as well. Yeah. Because if it's not, if the correct medical attention is not given, then you could just lose the arm. Yeah.
So when you crashed, did all your mates must have been there? Did they just pick you up and take you to the side of the road, or did they see how serious it was? They called an ambulance,
right? Ken, who was on your episode, number 6 wheel.
Yes.
So Ken was actually on that ride.
Oh wow!
And I actually probably owe my arm and my life to him because he was the guy that actually
before he left to become a famous number 6 man.
He's my actually like neighbor. We stay very near each other at Bukit Panjang.
Okay.
So when he was still in Singapore, and then we used to ride. And then I actually met him only just a few times from that ride previously because he came back to Singapore and then he joined in for the ride. So he was like first aid trained. So it's like, don't move him, just immobilize him, clear the area, and then he called the ambulance down. So I think what he did was the right thing. Yeah, not to shift the person.
Because if you got an open wound or open break, that could shift around and slice a whole bunch of other nerves, for example, right? And then the ambulance guys knew exactly what to do. They just
So they
the
just
age.
immobilize the area, you know, they cordon off, wait for the ambulance to come and let the first aiders take over. Yeah. So for them, they really just focus on checking whether I'm in shock or not, and just say I'm maintaining condition. Yeah.
And then how long does it take you to get your mobility and your arm back into
Oh, it was long. So actually, I think for mobility wise, at least half a year. Yeah.
How long did you get feeling back in your hand?
I had to like slowly do all those like grip ball exercises and then slow range of motion, you know, the band work.
This is a physiotherapy right here, right?
Like anchor your elbow on the side and then do all the band work. So I think it took me at least a good maybe 1 year to really get back my range of motion and like functionality. Yeah. But the funny thing was I had world champs that year, like 70.3 in US and
Chattanooga.
Chattanooga. Yeah.
Okay.
So I actually against the doctor's wishes, I went to do the race. Still,
Did you finish it?
I finished it. Yeah. I had to float a bit in the swim, but I managed to get
You
back.
just swim on 1 hour.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then so now your arm is back fully
Yeah,
feeling
fine.
again?
I actually met Ken. So we did Epic Tibet last year.
Okay.
Anyway, 2 years back. Yeah. So the rides that Ken always does.
Yeah, because he mentioned that he was organizing group rides into Tibet, right?
And we were doing that. We were riding. We were just talking about this accident. We were like, that was a good few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But your arm is completely fine. You took a
Yeah,
bite
I
out
have
of
a
the
little
collarbone.
knot on my clavicle, but I think relatively I'm recovering like already better than what is sort of expected. Yeah, because they really give you a range of
right.
angles. Yeah,
Right. And yeah.
So I mean, I'm happy with where I am at the moment.
Or from 10 out of 10 bad being you could have a stump on your arm right now,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Compared to 0 being completely normal, you're probably closer to very full range again, right?
Great.
Which is great. So then, any triathlon races coming up? What's the plan for
this year,
this year and next year?
I think this year is pretty packed because there's Rayong Sea Games at the end of the year.
Yes, there is. Yes.
So my attention is actually more on the athletes this year, getting them ready for the games.
Okay. Because you also have a role with TAS,
Oh yes.
right? So what do you do for TAS?
So under TAS, I'm actually in the community development board.
Okay.
Together with Benku
Yep.
and Joshua Lee.
Okay.
So the three of us are really focused on getting grassroots events up, community events for the kids like the Youth Triathlon League.
Yep.
That we did at the start of the year. So that's the main focus of the board. And then on top of that, I do also sit in sometimes with James Milditch in the
Manager,
performance,
sort of manager role.
performance committee.
So if a squad is going to Vietnam to race, for example, you might go with the squad to help them and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we do have a rostering system where for different events there are different officials or managers that go down together with the team.
Okay. And then Tribal, you've been around for 5 years. What's the end game? How big do you want it to be? And when are you gonna feel this is awesome? This is just like the sweet spot, right? Are you there yet already, or?
I think you asked after the same question as well. And
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, and then for me it's like I think I actually totally agree with him. Like sometimes I'm just like happy, being in that in this community. So just I mean doing the stuff that we do well. Of course my greater vision is to have more youth joining in and hopefully the sport has a wider base. So I think in TAS we always talk about the triangle. So right now we're
Pyramid.
actually top heavy.
You had to.
Yeah, we are top heavy.
Because so one fine day, Bryce City, all the guys are going to retire,
Yes.
and then you're going to need people to fill those spots, right?
And we do have a very strong, I would say, like senior team. Even guys like YKid, Ben. Yeah, but me and Ben feel that we need to really grow that pipeline coming in. I think it's an open secret. The other countries are all doing it. Indonesia, Thailand.
Well, it's in all sports it happens. Like I grew up in Australia, right? So Australia has a very strong swimming and triathlon and stuff in the background, and you always need those up and coming athletes to be ready. You might not get to race at this Olympics, but if someone's sick or injured, they're right there and they can do just as well, right? They need, but if you don't have those bench warmers or people that are willing and able to step up, that the sport will die in the country, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so and then what next for Tribal? Are you there at every training session that you can be?
Oh, I'm lucky that I actually have a great team. So when I started, it's probably just that three of us. But now I think we have more coaches, more volunteers on deck as well. The community is bigger. So depending on which session that there is, usually we try to roster people around.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so what next for this year and next year for triathlon? Not necessarily.
I think for me this year it's definitely full focus on the end of the year for Rayong. Hopefully we will have a couple of guys going up for that. And then of course there's also the ASEAN Youth Games in Bahrain, which is happening in October. ASEAN Youth Games. Yeah, ASEAN Youth Games.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think previously the first major games that we had, actually kids coming up from swimming background coming up was Commonwealth Youth Games. So we had Kyan Low and One Thing going up for that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a great experience for them racing against guys from Australia, Scotland, all your bigger countries. And I think for this year, if ASEAN Youth Game does happen, then there's definitely a platform we hope to send up a team for
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay. What's the best way to get a hold of you? Chewy. So when I read your, because my last name is Chew as well, right?
Yeah.
When I read your Instagram, I read it as Chewy Yi Heng. But it's actually Chu Yi Heng.
Yeah, Chu is my surname.
Yep.
Yeah, and then actually my Chinese name is Yi Heng.
Yi Heng.
Yeah, but I think over the years people just been calling me Yi Heng.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yi Heng,
Yeah, or even Ian. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for coming by. I'm sure I'll catch up with you. You're at the track every Thursday nights, right? I used to do Garmin Run Club at the track every Thursday. Maybe I'll start doing it again with those guys. And I'll see you there. You're normally at the netball side.
Yeah.
Netball side, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you so much. I'm glad we did this. And then we'll talk again soon, okay?
Yeah.